in the context of creating content, preaching, teaching, podcast, and leading your team, etc., do you have a process for creating that content? Do you have a process? And if so, what does your process look like? Adam, great question. Let me answer it. I'm going to broaden it a little bit and just talk really about content creation, because not everyone's going to teach like I do in my role, but most everyone will create content. You're going to write letters, you're going to cast vision, you're going to inspire and instruct at meetings, or so on. So I'll do my best to hit the high points. First of all, we need to understand that we're never just speaking, we're always leading. As leaders, we're never just blah, 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 blah. We're never just trying to communicate content. What we're trying to do is we're trying to lead people toward a direction, toward an action, toward a destination. We're not just speaking, we're leading. There's 3 questions that we want to be able to answer before we communicate anything. First of all, what do I want the people to know? What do I want them to feel? What do I want them to do? What do I want them to know, feel, and do? We want to start with the know. We want to be able to clearly define what specifically we want to communicate. For me, when I'm communicating a weekend message, I try to work hard to be able to capture the essence or the big truth, the big idea in one sentence. If I can't narrow it down to one sentence, then it's not yet clear in me. That one sentence, everything should point to that big one sentence. For the Leadership Podcast, what I want to do is I want to define a narrow topic. Broad is difficult to communicate. The more narrow you get, the better and the more strategic the communication can be. So what do I want them to know? Second thing is, what do I want them to feel? Why is this so important? Facts don't move people to action. Emotions move people to action. So we want them to feel something when we communicate with them. Then finally, what do we want them to do? What is the action that you hope your communication creates? What do you want them to do? If you don't have a clear do, you're not clear yet on your content creation. Remember, the more things you want someone to do, the less likely they are to do them. If I gave you an assignment and say, here's the 9 things I want you to do, chances are you're not going to do any of them. It's best to have one big, clear ask. If we ask for one thing, we're more likely to get one thing than if we ask for 5 things, we're less likely to get one thing at all. Now, creating content, let me just tell you, it is exhausting. It is exhausting. It takes extraordinary concentration to create high quality, concise, and clear content. So here's some behind the scene thoughts. You're going to want to create the right environment, and that means the right time of the day when you're most creative, the right kind of tools. You want everything to be in an environment that moves you toward that creativity. For me, I'm going to tell you my philosophy. I like to work in about 4-hour windows. If I only have 2 hours, I don't have enough time to get immersed in the content. I can't do it for 6 hours. That's too much. So I like a 4-hour window. I understand many of you will never get a 4-hour window, but you don't have the volume of content to create that I do. And so you're going to want to find out your rhythms. What's the right window time? For me, earlier is better. I'm more creative early in the morning. And so I want to create the right environment. Like literally it's down to, I've got a couple of drinks that I like to have nearby. I like to have my snacks. I listen to ambient music, some music that has kind of a rhythm behind it, but no words, and that helps keep me focused. People don't interrupt me during that time. It's like literally I'm creating my little creative cave, and you'll want to do your own version of that. I'm going to describe the process as simply as I can, and I'm put it in 6 points. First thing is this: I want to research, absorb, and capture ideas. If I'm doing a leadership podcast, I'm going to spend a couple hours researching, looking at different teaching, Googling stuff, reading books, listening to podcasts, and jotting down notes. If I'm going to read an article, literally I'll skim it, and I can probably read 8 or 10 articles in a 5-6 minute period where I'm just capturing little ideas and putting them down. Then I'm going to start organizing. Once I've got a lot of content, I'm going to start organizing, seeing what common ingredients we have, and start trying to get it organized. Then what I'm going to do is start illustrating for interest. Once I have some kind of workable outline, I'm going to try to create interest to keep people engaged. It might be a funny story if I'm doing a weekend message, or it might be kind of a tweetable quote that you're going to want to write down while I'm teaching a leadership podcast. Then number 4, I'm going to edit down. This is crucial. Less is more, less is more, less is more. We get emotionally attached to content that we discover and we like. and I'm going to edit down, edit down, edit down, edit down. I bring in other people often to help me edit down. I'll ask them, what do I like that you don't care about? And oftentimes they're like, I don't really care about this. Like, oh, but I love that so much. But I really try to listen to them because as communicators, we often communicate too much. Too much loses people. Edit down, edit down. Number 5, I let it sit. The best communication I'm going to do is not something that I create in one sitting. It's actually going to be something that often has several weeks of time to it. And then number 6, I'm going to revisit it on a fresh day after I've slept a couple of times. What happens is my antennas are often up during those times, and I find a couple of other ideas. I come in and look at it on a fresh day, and suddenly I have great clarity to it. That's what my process looks like. For one podcast, sometimes people say, does this just come out of you naturally? Thank you for that compliment. No, it does not. I work a long time on these. I might spend 3 different 4-hour blocks, literally creating a 20-minute teaching for the podcast. You have to work longer to teach high quality, shorter, and I'll spend a lot of time on it. It takes a lot of work to make content simple and easy to digest.